Hello, Veer-myn, Forge Fathers, and other legally distinct names. Welcome to Miniatures Rundown.
Hey.
What is this?
This is Firefight. So, this has probably popped up in your local game store fairly recently. And
We first saw this at Adepticon, right?
yeah.
I know it was a thing before that.
Yeah, it was originally called, maybe not originally called Warpath, but this is in the quote-unquote Warpath universe, as you can see down at the corner. Mantic Games is a game company that has made... they're splintered off from Games Workshop because they weren't
Mantic was founded by a couple of people who left GW.
Yeah. Maybe for better or for worse. We will determine this soon.
Given what I know of that story at the time, it was for the better.
Yeah.
They were
They were not happy. Yeah. For whatever reason.
For whatever reason, and they made their own minis company. And, you know, Mantic gets a lot of flack for some things because they do create things that are very often intended to be Warhammer but. So, for example, I have the Firefight Veer-myn Strike Force box, which is Space Skaven.
Yes.
Like, through and through.
Cheese stealer cults.
These are Ratmen with, you know... But, you know, GW does not own the concept of Ratmen.
No.
And GW does not own the concept of orcs.
No, they certainly don't.
GW does not own the concept of
power
most
armory.
things that they do.
Yeah.
It's
Never,
GW.
but don't let them hear that, right?
Well, I mean, Mantic's still making this stuff, so I think they're going to win that fight.
So let's
what
get started. Yeah.
Is Firefight?
Firefight.
What kind? I mean, obviously it's a miniatures war game, but what kind of miniatures war game?
Set in and around the vast galactic co-prosperity sphere, Firefight is an immersive and exciting tabletop game of futuristic battles fought on alien worlds. Blah 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 blah. It's a two-player game.
Skip a bit, brother.
Yeah. Controlling a strike force of highly trained or degenerate warriors and war machines. It's not too far off from 40K, kids.
So it is. So what I guess the question I'm asking is, what size of game is this? Is this a skirmish game or an army game?
This is...
Or somewhere in between.
I think this is actually somewhere in between because this is supposed to be a full strike force.
Yes.
Which is what they call an army in this case. And you've got how many models in that box?
40 rats with guns.
Yeah.
4 big rats with bigger guns. 3 spiky wheels. And 1 very large mining machine.
Yes.
So a total of about 50 models, which is small for a 40K game, especially of a horde army.
But I think that it's actually quite large in the scale of Firefight.
Right. So Firefight is going more for that kind of...
Yeah.
It's not quite 40K size. In fact, it's probably a reaction to 40K, where it's...
Think that
40K has a problem of more and more models on the table.
Too dang many, yeah.
Well, they dialed that down with 9th as kind of a reaction to that.
Kind of
but Mantic also had its own reaction, which is to release... this game,
crank it right on down,
which is somewhere. So it's not quite small like Kill Team,
right?
Which Mantic does have a version of a skirmish game too.
I believe so.
In this same universe, using the same models. So hey, you could use these models for that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and open it. I have not opened this.
Yeah. Well, you get futzing around on that. Let me tell you how I got into Firefight.
$5
Yeah, there you go. I am interested in playing a game called Stargrave, and realized that the enforcers would be really good just mooks to have to fight.
Yeah,
you probably want to flip this thing over.
Oh no!
Problems.
Josh is making mistakes already.
And then the not orcs in this, the not orcs in this set would also be good for my Necromunda gang.
Yeah.
Because they're roughly the same size. Not on the same size basis, though. We'll get into that in a minute.
Okay. Well, we'll give you some close-ups of these sprues here in a bit. But so these are hard plastic.
Yes, these are PVC plastic.
Okay.
The sprues are, the bases are also on sprues, strangely enough. So take that how you will.
Roughly GW base size, but not entirely. Hey, my Doom Wheel is not Doom Wheel. I don't know what it's called. They don't give me a name of these things on the back.
They're in this book.
I see.
They're in the Force List book. So it's interesting to note. So these two books come packaged together as like the get started sort of thing. Whereas they're all, you know, there's no codices, there's no battle tomes.
This did not come with a book in here, and there was no book on the shelf for Veer-myn.
Yeah,
the Veer-myn Empire.
Yeah, that's because everything you need to have is in this book. So the rule book and the force lists are one entity that you can get either separately for, I think it's $40, or they come in the starter set also.
So, and starter set is also $100?
$130.
$130. And that comes with, well, I guess you can crack yours
Yeah,
open,
I'll
'cause what
crack
you
this
have
open.
there is the starter set, right?
Yes.
All right.
This is the starter set that I have actually taken to task already and built.
Aha.
But yeah, I start getting these out. But yeah, no, you get. So there's some definite questions that I have. Basically, they don't have hard plastic 40 mil bases, which is what your big guys go on.
They use MDF.
MDF, which we are intimately familiar with.
Yes.
But yeah, take a look see at that.
How does an orc go with a buzzsaw?
Yep, that is an orc. That is a Marauder Ripper suit Mauler.
So this plastic is kind of
Yeah.
a bit closer to maybe Reaver Bones' black, firmer.
Yes.
So
definitely
I'm assuming
firmer.
easier to work with.
For somebody, I guess.
Well, I mean, as far as like scraping mold lines or anything like that, that would be easier than, because Reaver Bones is so soft that can be challenging sometimes.
So there is a quick reference thing here, and it goes 1 and 2, and it's that simple. But yeah, this is how they package. These are the enforcers.
Close-ups here, yeah.
Yeah. Soft plastic, that sort of thing. Likewise, I'm kind of miffed with myself that I built these, sight unseen, because the Mauler suits and the jet bikes come in little plastic baggies, just like your cheese wheel of doom does. But you can see that these are far, far simpler to put together.
Yeah, like I'm looking at this orc sprue here.
It is one torso.
Yeah.
2 arms.
Torso with legs already attached.
Yes.
Arms, head, accoutrement.
Yes.
Get a little orc.
Yeah. And there's this.
So these guys were
Jet and
rocking
biking.
rocking the orc commando aesthetic before GW was worth noting.
Stolen. But yeah, that's in the backstory that the Marauders just steal any dang thing they can get their mitts on. Funny that. But yeah, so ooh, we got a runner in there.
We got a loose bit in there.
Loose bit, yeah.
So how many models does the starter set come with?
10, 20, 30, 5, 40, 42 on the orc side, and then 2, 4, 5, 6, 16, 26 on the enforcer side. So a boatload.
Okay.
All things consider a.
So almost the same, like basically 2 armies come in that box.
Yeah, they're listed right down here as being 785 points and 775 points.
Did you check if the armies that come in this are the same as the Strike Force boxes?
The Strike Force boxes have more vehicles.
Okay.
You get more for the enforcers. You get more peacekeepers, which are the heavy guys, and they have their flying vehicle in there.
Okay.
The Marauders have their weird. So another kind of brilliant thing, but maybe kind of cheesy thing that they did is that they took all of the GCPS, which is like the Imperial Guard, basically.
Yes.
And they've got one specific vehicle tracked thinger here. And the orcs get to use it. The plague get to use it. And I think a couple of other factions get their
doubling
mitts on it
down,
too.
huh?
Yeah, really hard doubling down.
Well, that kind of makes sense. You
Yeah.
know, a truck that is available to one thing would probably be available
And
to...
especially when 2 of the factions are, we literally just stole this. But yeah, no, the mule transport is what it's called, and it gets quickly stolen by the Marauders and upgunned and up-armored. And then the plague also gets the mules.
Just a brief correction.
Yes.
Dead Zone is
Zone.
what the Kill Team version.
That's it.
I keep saying Kill Team version. That's derivative. It's the skirmish version.
The skirmish version, yes.
And this is something we've talked about before. It is difficult not to frame everything in wargaming in terms of Games Workshop.
Yes.
Which I think is a disservice. Because, like, Mantic was out here doing Dead Zone. They've been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
Before the Kill Team reboot. And for those of you who were unhappy with the Kill Team reboot, as a lot of people were, and you're unhappy with the fact that GW wants to sell you 18 billion books and box sets,
I can't say I blame you.
We've talked a lot about miniatures agnostic games, things like Frostgrave and Stargrave as alternatives to Games Workshop. But there exists
Stargrave.
and I would not call Mantic indie by
No.
any means. Mantic is one of the largest companies that is not GW.
They are strictly middle shelf.
Right. But a good
As
middle
opposed,
shaft.
as opposed to top shelf, which is GW,
Right.
and bottom shelf, which is, you know, I don't know, some schlub with a 3D printer in his basement.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, though. Like,
Bottom shelf don't tend to last very long, right?
yeah, bottom shelf is bottom shelf is bottom shelf. But yeah, they have their Eldar, but not Eldar, or Tau, but not Tau. Yeah. And then they've got, here's one thing that they have always had over GW. They had squats before they were cool.
Yeah, yes. Oh, I believe that they did a tweet when
Yeah.
they were re-announced something like, you don't have to break the bank. You don't have to, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the Forge Fathers are their squats. They're literally just squats. They're not Leagues of Votan. They're not anything. They're just space dwarves.
Yep.
Which is kind of what the squat started out as, but none of this like, oh, it's actually a AI or whatever. No, it's just a shortman.
It's a space dwarf with a gun.
Yep, space dwarf with a gun. So hey, this is the entire codex for every army to this point. If they make more stuff, I'll bet dollars to donuts that it's going to have a little insert that said, hey, these are the rules.
Okay.
And in the starter box, here's all your rules for everybody. All
So
the
it's
stuff
a
here's
self-contained package.
Yeah, it is the most complete self-contained package that exists in a war game not put out by GW. I would say.
Well, nowadays GW doesn't do self-contained packages
but
anymore.
yeah. So I'm saying that, like, with Horus Heresy right in the back of my mind, right, where you can just like split it down the middle.
Yeah, an Army of Darkness, though, and I think it's something we've been talked about a lot, is an exception to the Games Workshop rule.
It's true.
In the fact of how complete and what a great deal it
Yes.
is. Everything else is you have to buy the starter box and then buy the codex and then buy the rulebook and then buy the Pariah Nexus expansion and then buy the dice and the...
Show me on the doll where the Pariah Nexus touched you.
I wasn't playing at the time. It was just something that came up in
know.
my brain.
Yeah, I know. That was a real stinker. But yeah, you can see that these are pretty decent models, though they're not Games Workshop quality.
No, and that is something
but that's
worth
fine.
noting. They're not quite GW quality and sharpness, but they also don't cost nearly as much.
Yeah, they don't cost GW prices. So.
They are still hard plastic, though. These are not metal pieces of crap.
No.
And they're great.
And they're not resin either.
Yes. And they look fine.
Yeah, no, they're great. They do have, however, the bane of every wargamer proprietary dice.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's fine.
It was going so well for you, Mantic.
It was going so well. But you get 2 sets of D10, and then I don't know what these do yet because I haven't read the book.
Oh, okay, well.
Yeah, so I'm
assuming that's hit and super hit.
I would assume
and
so.
And then blank.
But
kind of reminds me of Star Wars Legion. Well, anyway.
yeah.
So if we play a firefight, obviously I've got my faction. So question number 1, does your contempt for Skaven extend to knockoffs?
Yes.
Oh, okay, well, that sucks to be you.
I will be more than happy to blow you into little ratty bits.
You can try. So, what are you going to play to try and blow me into little ratty bits? Because you got your enforcers, who, by the way, the enforcers are not.
They're not Space Marines.
No, they're not. They're really more. I'm trying to think of a better comparison.
Well, this is gonna date me very badly, but there was a game called XCOM Enforcer.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah, and they look very similar. Now these are the Peacekeepers, which are bigger.
Sure.
And I've got a couple of the regular size ones in here.
And they are guys in power armor, so they're kind of meant to invoke Space Marines,
Yes.
clearly from a design perspective.
But
they're not Space Marines.
They're closer to clone troopers.
They're farther from Space Marine than the
So here's
Veer-myn hero from
here's the
Skaven.
regular guys.
Okay.
He's much slimmer.
So just a dude with a gun.
With 2 of them in this case, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah,
Guns, plural.
guns. But they're not. Yeah, they're Space Marines, but they're far enough. They're Space Marines, but they're not capital S, capital M Space Marines.
Right, yeah.
They're not Adeptus Astartes.
Right. They're more like that's what I was trying to think. They're more like the guys from Halo.
Yeah, no, they're definitely
or maybe Gears of War.
Yeah, no, they're definitely more like Melania Armor.
I never played Halo.
And you call yourself a millennial? Not really.
I try not to.
I try not to admit it if I can help it.
I've played Vermintide a lot though,
Yeah,
so I'm prepared for this.
Yeah, there you go.
Prepared for this.
But yeah, so once you do your quick count on that and figure out how many points you have.
Yes.
Because I have.
Well, I'll have to borrow the book from you because that is my one sticking point is that no books came in this box.
Yeah.
You are clearly meant to either buy the book
or buy the Get Started.
But the Get Started, to me, I have no love for orcs.
Yeah, and you could care less about Spruce Maroons.
Not those guys. They did not grab me.
But the good news is that these are only, these together is $40.
And it's Mantic, so I bet there's a PDF online you can buy for a lot cheaper. Because Mantic tends to do that pretty well.
Or if not, the full rule book, it's
the Getting Started or something
the Get Started kit. I will also say here's their version of assembly guides. Color-coded, but also kind of figure it out.
Well, that's pretty classic.
Yeah, but I will also say that as I'm, busting their chops for this, it's not on this sprue, but they are labeled A, B, C, D, and E with each leg and each torso. So rather than spend all the time being like, all right, well, here we carved out this chunk in CAD to get this to work right. It's more of a it's more old school.
Right, yeah.
Look, if you remember playing 40K in the mid 2000s or in the early 10s, this is gonna feel really, really familiar, and that shouldn't shock anybody. One more thing I would like to point out, I really like their flying bases because they've got a really nice fat divot that you're supposed to actually glue this the thing into, and then it goes in there, and it's not a super tight fit. So if you do budget, it's probably not the model's gonna fall off before it breaks off. And as somebody who started out with Eldar Vipers, I appreciate that.
But do the rules tell you where to measure from? Inside jokes no one will get. So, now we've unboxed games before and promised to play them and then never played them.
Yeah, but Josh actually cares about this one, so.
Yeah, I care enough that I bought this, and not only just because I bought Skaven and I thought those would look great as acolytes. And then I read the rules for Skaven and realized I don't ever want to play acolytes. And unlike previously, you don't need to. So I'm looking to build these guys.
Yeah.
I bounced pretty hard off of 40K's rule set, so maybe this will be the rule set that grabs me.
It might.
And there's a skirmish version in Dead Zone, which I'm assuming I can use all these same models.
I would assume so as well, yes.
We'll have to look to see if Dead Zone comes to us in a future. So yeah, looking forward to
we're going to give it a shot.
figuring this out. I'm going to go home and assemble some of this stuff.
Yep, I'm gonna try and get this built and primed. I guess I'm going to build up the Enforcers.
Oh, you're going for Enforcers. You're not going your Orcs.
No, because it depends on how many we bring, how much point.
Well, I don't have to bring all of this.
Yeah.
Yours didn't come with a big vehicle, right?
No,
so I will just probably leave the big vehicle out.
Okay, that's fair. But yeah, we'll do some digging. I'll figure out what I'm feeling most interested in, and then we'll get going.
Yeah.
Oh, here's interesting. So if you want to know how decidedly different this is, check range from the leader to the closest model in the target unit. So if your sergeant is in range, everybody else can shoot.
Star Wars Legion works a bit like that.
Yeah, it's similar to that. I think we're going to see a lot of similar DNA between Legion and this.
Which is interesting, because they're not made by the same people.
Yeah, they're not, natural rolls of an 8 are always a success, irrespective of armor value or modifiers.
I did notice they use 8-sided dice, which I would complain about, but one of my biggest complaints about Warhammer is that the D6 is very restrictive in what you are allowed to do with it when it is your only dice. So branching out more is good. It means you can have more variance. It means your stats can matter more.
Yeah. So, you know what? Even if this game doesn't take off super hard, I think you and I are going to have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
Just from...
Well, we might have to wait till 40K does another dip down and doesn't have Age of
Sigmar to...
Well, no, it doesn't have Horus Heresy
to
kind of bail it out. Because we all know that was what's happening right now with 40K.
Yeah. Is it? I don't know.
I mean, yeah.
I don't like you say that, but well, that's a
different discussion.
Yeah.
Until then,
Yeah.
if you're getting into Firefight, or maybe you've already were into Firefight or other Mantic games, maybe you play Dead Zone and maybe you're just screaming at us for only now discovering it. A, sorry. B, not actually sorry.
C, it just showed up in the shop.
Yeah, it just showed up, man.
Come
What do you
on.
want? Look, I had to buy things with my store discount. That's the only reason I work here. If you were already into this, let us know what you're playing and how you found out about it, because I'm curious to see, like, did you bounce off of 40K like I did? Did you just come into this for expensiveness sake? Like,
did you see these models and say, I could proxy that, and then you're like, oh, wait, I'm really into this rule set?
That could be it.
Because that's very possible, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Shout out, because I'm curious.
Yeah, no, we are legitimately
like I'm
curious.
legitimately going to go online to several Discords and ask, because I'm like,
yeah,
anybody heard of this game?
Yeah, who knows this stuff? Is this is Mantic just bigger in the UK than the States, which is very possible.
Could be. Who knows?
I will say, if there's one thing I'm a little bit miffed at, though, is their reliance on the slip covers for their boxes.
Oh.
And the MDF bases. Like, presentation does matter, kids.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know. I guess MDF bases don't really matter to me, because by the time I'm finished with it, you can't tell.
You won't see it, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those disappointments that you get when you open
that's
a box.
what keeps this box of...
Yeah, I don't think that's going to keep you from enjoying it.
If that's what keeps this Combat Patrol-sized box from being $150,
yeah, maybe that's all right.
I'm on board.
Yeah.
That is a sacrifice. It's a sacrifice we're willing to make.
Yeah.
Till next time, make your own sacrifices. Whatever that means.
Don't listen to Josh.